Hi, welcome back to Kittle's Quilts. Now, lately I have been looking for a challenge that would really challenge me to create and really get back into the quilting mood. I have found this challenge a little bit different than most. I've made many quilts, as you can see behind me. You have my applique quilt, and I have made a simple square quilt. Now, for many, you're probably going, okay, so what's she doing now? Well, I have decided to embark on the process of making a double ring quilt. Now, I don't exactly call it a double wedding ring, as many have created different versions of the double wedding ring quilt. I call it a double scrap quilt or a double scrap ring quilt, as it is round. The idea came from this book, the Double Wedding Ring Quilt Leaflet, and inside I found the scrap double wedding ring quilt, and it's 47 by 47. Now, I don't feel that that is a large size, nor do I feel like it goes along with our minis, because of the fact that, as you can see, it is not very big. I'm going to add an additional row, which will make 20 double rings. So first, I would like to start off with our materials that are needed. First, you will want to get your essential templates and things like that. So first we have our center, which is letter E. And then you have your eyelet, which is letter C, as in cat. D as in dog. And this one is your curve. And then we have letter B. Now, for this one, I ended up labeling B2 and B1 for a certain reason, and you will find as I go through the video. Next, I also have your letter A template. These are acrylic. You can also get them in paper form, but it's important that when you use your paper form templates, you put tape on them to prevent the paper from eventually fraying and disintegrating. So, I started off cutting out my pieces, and this is where the B1 and B2 come in. I had to cut them into different sizes for this particular quilt, as you can see. The curved edge goes the opposite direction for each one. The curved edge on these go to this side, is the curved edge on this one goes out the opposite direction. This being the fact that whenever you look at it from afar, it will determine which end it will be on. So you have B1 and B2. In the center you have A. 4 A's equal the arc that is needed with a B on each end. Next, you will have your D as in dog pieces that I cut out for opposite ends of your arc. Now, once this is completed and you have added your eyelet, which is, as we know, C, as in cat, this is your eyelet. When these are completed and you have your complete piece in, When you have your piece completed in, you will have a double ring. The double ring is the pattern that you are wanting. This is the pattern that is your completion, that has been decided as your final plate. These are not blocks, these are plates. I'm not quite sure where the idea came from to call them plates, but that is what I have read in the leaflet as them being called. And after this short break, we will begin piecing them. I will show you how to put A together, as well as B and your D pieces into your quilt. Final step will be placing the eyelet and stitching them to the center. Hi everyone, so I'm back now and I am going to start our last part of our video in showing how to put your pieces together. Now, the pieces to create the arc are 4 A pieces as instructed and 2 B pieces on each end. I have now pinned the D pieces to them. And all you're going to do, as I have shown here, now I am left-handed, so for you right-handed, you're going to probably start from the opposite end. And all I do is I take the pieces and move inward and then outward. And that is your beginning. You will do the curved pieces by hand and it will come out more smoothly and less nicked and knacked, as I call it, and a little less bunching. Now, you can stitch this, well, if I put a knot in it, oh wow, something you don't forget. Now, once you put the knot in it, you try again to do as I have shown. Now, you're going to take and you're going to hand sew the letter D as in dog pieces to each end. Now, the reason for this is that they're curved. Curved pieces have a habit of either not going down flatly or simply not going down properly whenever you iron. Now, I do not iron my pieces. I do not steam them. I do not do any form of flattening unless it is required or said to do in the pattern. Now, I like to leave my pins in, as you can see, versus removing them right off the bat, because of the fact that I don't want any form of slippage when stitching in the small pieces. Now, I know that putting these in like this is a little bit more creating a challenge for anyone who is not familiar with this quilt block. I keep calling it a block. It's actually a plate, but block is just easier for me to say. Now, when putting it together, you piece the centers in. The eyelet in the center are also pieced by hand. If you wish to put them in by machine, you have to add, you'll have to add an extra seam allowance, because when you do it by machine, it's not going to come out and fit properly. Whereas when you do it by hand, it comes out to fit more accurately than if it were to be a pattern where the machine allowed seam allowance. To add seam allowance, you can add a 1/4 of a centimeter seam allowance in, but not exactly going to, make it any easier. As you can see, the pieces now in place. Now, next, you will take your next piece, which is the green with the brown, and it will come together like so. I line them up corner to corner at the beginning, and then I will pin them to just above where my point is. So that is at each end, in other words. I am pinning them. And then I pin my centers. The centerpiece is important as just about everything. But in the center of my box, I am going to applique decorations, most likely. And you can, as I have seen, you can put a border on this quilt, or you can put a bias. A bias is usually no more than a quarter to a half an inch fold going around it. But depending on your background, which is, in some cases, a lot of people like to do like a plain fabric or a plain color. That can be where you can also put your bias and square it off. Now, I am not at the completion stage. I will do an updated video of the completion stage of this quilt so that everyone who has been following my videos will be able to see how it's completed and what is the best way to complete possibly their quilt if they are following and making a quilt at the same time. Now, the one thing with these quilts is that it is a challenge. Curves are not easy. They are most difficult pieces that I've ever put together that I have had a rough time with. As well, I will give a sneak peek at the end of the video to the next quilt that is in line. Now, the next quilt is not going to be a round. It will actually be hexagon. Yes, definitely a quilt not for beginners. This one I would definitely say not for beginners either. But there is some simple ring ones that I will possibly post a video on. But it's called a single wedding ring quilt, and it is with triangles and squares that I think of. And I will definitely think on creating a video for that. For those of you who are watching, join my link. It is the link that is Facebook me at Kittles Quilts and Creations on Facebook. There is also a Instagram for Kittles Quilts, and there is also a Pinterest. Yes, folks, I have a Pinterest for Kittles Quilts. Now, for anyone who has something called TikTok, I am still in the process of learning what that is. I will definitely say that as soon as I learn what it is, I will be more than happy to maybe make a few TikTok videos. For those who are interested in any other videos or quilts that you would like to see done, feel free to either IM message me on Facebook, or I'll be happy to answer any messages in my Pinterest or in the comments. Leave comments and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am definitely looking forward to doing more videos, and let's build my channel up, because this is a new year, and this is definitely the year that everyone is really, I started noticing last year, everyone is really getting into making quilts and doing things by hand. I do not do videos on mask making. Yes, folks, I do wet my finger before tying my knot off. That's an old sewer's habit. Alright, so we've already got the beginnings of our eyelet. And this is, like I said, this is a very quick quilt to make for anyone who is looking for something that is going to be quick and easy to put together. It's not going to take you a whole lot of time as long as you understand that it requires a sewing machine and your hands. Now, I do have another sewing machine I am using, which I have sitting right here. If you have a computerized sewing machine, the best length and width of your stitches is going to be the straight stitch 2.5, and I set it at 4, so it's not too far over and it's not too far inward, so that the stitching can come out more at a 1/4 inch seam. If you have a basic sewing machine, be sure to mark that and pay attention on your seam allowance. But you can set your stitches on those as well. Just set it at not the smallest mark, which is usually the 1 and a 2. So you can put it at 2, but if you wish, set it at 3. Only because of the fact that the bigger stitches are more used for bias versus using for piecing a quilt with the small pieces. Alrighty, we've just about got this tied off. I'm going to be right back after this break, and I will begin to show you how to put in your letter C and then attach it to your center. Alright folks, so now we have our piece together. This is our eyelet. Look how beautiful that is. Now this is exactly the way that you want it to look. Now next you'll take a eyelet piece. This is a piece that's from wish.com. Now to get anything from wish.com, it does take quite a while for it to come in. Now this piece, of course, I found many different colors in it, but I do like this brown. It's kind of a tan and kind of a light brown, as everyone can see, and I like it. Now, others may not agree with the idea of using that color, but in a quilt that has so many other colors, it tends to kind of bring everything into focus. Now, next, you are going to want to take this piece, lay it on top, front side out, as well as the front side out on your eyelet. You are going to want to find your points on each side. The points are where the points for your ring go, your eyelet goes, and then you come in and you will pin this piece together. Alright, this piece goes together. I like to take a little small piece here and go in. Others, they like to go ahead and take out quite a bit. The reason being is that whenever you go to put your opposite piece in, as I did, I pinned the back of it by accident. And it made it to where it would not piece together. So when you do that, I found that if you take your piece, simply go point to point, as such, crease it and firmly press it down, and then back over it again And this helps put a nice little crease in it without having to do any pin work. Now next, you're going to take, and since we can't get the points right, we are just simply going to find your center. The center is the two pieces in the center of your A's. You want to take and carefully take that folded piece and press it into there and make sure it lines up good with that fold. And you want to pin it. We're not pinning the devil out of it. We're just pinning it enough to get our points where they need to be without necessarily having to overpin and then having to repin all at the same time. And now we have it. Here we go. We now have it pinned. So we're going to come back over to our point. I like to line my points up. And then I like to come back with it open like this and put a quick pin in. Then that way all I got to do is work over from there and pin the next section. And I continue to do so all the way around. Then that way I do not have to basically stop and start and then repin it as I am stitching it. Yes, this is another, we will be hand piecing it. So it will take a bit of time to do so. This is something that maybe you could sit and watch TV or something like that. I would not suggest trying to put this part on the machine, as it tends to cause it to not properly attach. So I'm going to go on break real quick, and we will resume as soon as it's hand pieced. I'll be back in a flash, folks. Alrighty, folks, we have it now pinned, and once this is completely stitched, it will lay like so. Now that is your eyelet. Once it is finished, this will be your final step, and that is that it will come together like so. And you will stitch it to your center. Now, whenever you stitch it into the center of it, you do not take it all the way to your squared off end. You only take it to your curved end, like so. And make sure to line it up just on that little bit of hairline of a stitch for your curve. Then that way you're going to pin it continuously through until you have completed it. And then your center will be pieced with the, ironically, for some reason, points that create your center. Alrighty. Look forward to visiting with you folks when I have gotten to the completion of the quilt. Take care, and don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Alrighty, folks, I am back for our final part of our video, and this is for your great sneak peek at the next video. Our next video will be about doing hexagons. These are your grandmother's gardens. You've seen my applique version, but how about a pieced version? I'm going to do the pieced in the small and definitely tiny garden, as well as I have another one that is going to be a large bed size quilt in the 2-inch size. This is another wonderful project that you can take on the go, and it goes wherever you go. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe and follow my YouTube channel, which is Kittles, Quilts, and Creations, as well as I do have Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram. Hey, best of all worlds. Have a wonderful evening.